You can cut it, paste it, erase it. You can be the change if you make it. You can cook it, sew it, or fake it. If you're like-minded. Welcome to LieckMinded, where I conspire to inspire you. You know the drill. Before we create, we educate. The lavalier is a type of cravat originated in 19th century France. It's similar to a bow tie, only it has a larger knot and drooping ends. The name is associated with the Duchess of Lavalier, who was King Louis XIV's mistress. It was primarily worn by women, students, artists, and intellectuals. No wonder I like wearing them so much. They were worn by cowboys in Western films and also by the Gibson Girls. They got another rebranding and were worn a lot by working women in the 60s and were made popular again by Coco Chanel and Yves Saint Laurent. In the 20th century, they got a rebranding and were called PUSSYBOWS. Since you're like-minded, you know that fashion is not gender specific, no matter how you identify, no matter how small or how large, these are sure to command attention. You know that every crafter class starts with a clean workspace. Here are some of the things that you're going to need to make this project. Fabric of your choice. I've got a few options here. Fabric scissors, measuring tape, couple trim choices, tape, paper scissors, thread, a pencil, paper, and a sewing machine. When it comes to fabric choices, it can be pretty overwhelming in the fabric store. And one of the ways that I narrow it down quickly is to always remember my own personal style. When you go into the fabric store, do the same thing. If your style is bold color and bold prints, gravitate to those types of fabrics, but make sure that they are either cotton or organza or a fabric that has a lot of body in it when you go to tie it. I've been known to rock a pretty big pussy bow, and if you're like-minded, I encourage you to push through fear and do the same. But whatever your comfort level is, just make one. I'm going to keep this pattern making very simple, but the first thing you want to do is measure how long you want your pussy bow to be. We're going to start by making our pattern, but before we do that, we want to know how long we want to make our pussy bow. And I like mine to be around 60 inches is how I like mine, which kind of gives you about that much of a hang. You can make it as short or as long as you want, but you want to make sure that you have paper, a couple sheets of it, and you want to make sure that you tape it together to accommodate whatever length that you decide. I've made sure that my paper is exactly 60 inches when I tape them all together. Now the next thing to do is to create an angle to the ends. And so I'm going to use the entire width of my paper as the width of my pussy bow. And I'm just going to use my tape measure to draw, you can use a ruler for this too, to draw my angle using the corner of the paper, and that'll be my angle, and I'll just cut off the rest. You can go a steeper angle or you can do a less steep angle, it's all up to you. You're the designer. Actually, I think I'm going to go a little steeper than that. Now that I look at it. Be a little more courageous. A ruler would be easier, to be honest. But I'm just going to make this work. Okay. Then you want to take your paper scissors, cut that angle off, because we're going to need this. We're going to need this to pull it over to the other side and copy that exact angle on the opposite side. We just use this edge that we just cut off the other end to replicate on this side, and then we cut that off. And that's all there is to it. There's not a lot of cutting and measuring. So it should look like that, with those two angles. The next thing that we're going to want to do is pin our pattern piece to our fabric. But before we do that, I'm going to have to call on some help from an old friend who's a shoo-in for the job. Hi, little guy. We've got it pinned, now let's cut it out. We've got our pattern pinned to our fabric and it's all cut out. Next we want to separate our pattern piece from our fabric and put the right sides together facing each other and then pin those together. We're going to sew it. We're going to leave one end open. So my right sides are on the outside. I need to separate these from each other and make them face each other. See how the dull side is facing outward now, and the good side, the printed side, is on the inside. That's what you want when you go to sew. As you can see, I'm pinning the right sides together. You heard me mention earlier that you want to leave one of the ends open. And this is the area that I was talking about between these two hearts. This angle you sew, and this angle you sew, but you leave this open. So long, so short, we're making pussy bows. That's what I decided to do. I've taken out all the pins and now I have to clip the corners. And on the other side you want to clip those corners right about there and clip that one too. It just gets rid of the extra fabric so it doesn't feel bulky. I've taken out all my pins and now I'm going to turn this right side out, kind of like you would a pillowcase, I guess, and just keep pulling that out. You can probably stick your whole hand in there and do it that way and grab that end and put it through. Hi. And this is what it should look like. And it's not looking like much right now, but trust me, I'm going to get those corners pulled out too. Sometimes I like to take a pin and kind of help me pull out those corners because they're pointy and it's hard to do with just your fingers. It wouldn't be an episode of Like-Minded if I didn't forget something. You're gonna need an iron. You want to make sure you press this flat all the way around, all the way down. I'm at the point where I'm trying to decide, do I use a contrasting thread, like one of these, or do I use one of these? These are my trim choices that I'm trying to decide between, and I think it's going to be this one. I think that's the choice. They're both right, but I'm just feeling like I think this is the one. I want to make sure that you know if you're using a trim like this to sew this edge and this edge, both edges all the way around, and make sure that you just secure it with a pin at the top. I've gotten everything sewn down, so now what I have to do is trim off anything extra that you see overhanging with trim and do it at the proper angles, and then any loose threads that you might see, you want to go ahead and get those too. And then we're going to press everything down again, and then it'll be done. My pussy bow is done. I hope yours is too. I'm now going to show you how to fold it and put one on. You want to fold down those trim edges to meet one another, and that trim edge is going to go at the base of your neck when you put it on. This is the back. The center is the back. Seriously though, you want to make sure that all of your edges are pressed, all of your trim is pressed, and all of your friends are impressed. With your newfound knowledge of lavaliers and pussy bows, I hope that you tag me at Like-Minded in all of your creations. And if you want to see more Like-Minded episodes, don't forget to click subscribe. And remember, nothing's off limits when you're like-minded.